magnificent morning, wonderful afternoon, and fantastic evening. And actually, we have people from morning to afternoon, afternoon, and evening here. So it's perfectly fine that I say it that way. And it also makes Cameron very happy when I say that, although he may not be listening now. This is Carla from MindPlore with Carla and Friends. And we are here to discuss whether our thoughts give us our reality, or does reality create our world? I said it differently in the topic, but seriously, in my mind, our reality is created in our mind, and we go from there. Having said that, I am really anxious to hear what Shivali, Jeanne, and Pastor Billy need to say about that. People who have been here have met them before, but they'll give you a very short introduction when they speak the first time. And I am going to pass this over to Jeanne right now to give some quotes that go with the topic. Hi, Jeanne.
How are you doing?
Jeanne, I can't hear you. You need to do something with your mic so we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Hear you now.
So I found a few interesting quotes I wanted to share. One is from a sports businessman, Alan Cohen, and I thought this was interesting to kick off our discussion. Your thoughts do not create reality, but they do create your experience. So when we look at our question, do our thoughts create our reality? He has a specific perspective, if you will. Wayne Dyer, the self-help guru, wrote, "You create your thoughts create your intentions, and your intentions create your reality." So again, it's a matter of looking at your perspective. General Colin Powell said, "A dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work." So as much as we want to think about our thoughts creating reality, we have to follow that through with hard work, according to him. And then the Greek writer Nikos Kazantzakis said, "Since we cannot change reality, let us change the eyes which see reality." And that's, I think, where we can kick off the discussion, because it's changing how we perceive, what is our perception, that they all kind of had it in common. So with that, let me throw this over to Pastor Billy. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I'm more in the Colin Powell network there. I know he recently passed on due to COVID, but when you think that Colin Powell, in fact, General Powell was a friend of one of my older brothers, and they both served on the board of America's Promise, if you remember that nonprofit organization, which I think is still rolling today. And now General Powell from Jamaica, I believe he fits in the category of African American, right? And though from Jamaica, and then his foremothers and forefathers from Africa. I like what he said about, yeah, we can dream, but it does take sweat, determination, and hard work. And I love to hear all these stories of these tech giants like Bill Gates or Michael Dell, Stephen Jobs. They all said, "Oh, I started in my garage." Do you all, are you tracking with me on that? You know, it's always in a garage. It's not in some highfalutin place. And I know for myself, and Carla asked us to introduce ourselves. I am an international humanitarian in the war zones of the world. I go to 18 war zones. I'm just back from Gaza, and I'm on my way to northern Nigeria. And I go to the war zones. And, you know, some of that, when I left the comfortable place of a church in New York City, in Manhattan, I had to go out to my friends and other people that were interested in doing humanitarian work in the war zones. And I said, hey, I'm starting this organization, and would you support me financially? So that was my dream in my head, right? But the way it became my reality was that I had to call people on the phone. I had to meet with them. I had to send out letters. And so for those that are viewing, you may have a dream right now, like maybe you want to be the next Bill Gates, or you want to be the next, you know, Stephen Jobs, or, you know, Tim Cook, or whoever. But it's going to take, as General Powell said, sweat, determination, and hard work. And it really does. And so our dreams become our reality by sweat, determination, and hard work. And I'll conclude by saying, you know, that's what Thomas Edison said, the inventor of the electric light bulb, the inventor of the phonograph, if you remember that machine, the inventor of the moving picture. And he said that 90% of his work was perspiration and 10% was inspiration. Exactly. You know, and some folks overseas may not know this, but WD-40, you know, that spray we use to loosen lug nuts and screws, and it's a lubricant. WD, that was the guy's initials, and it was on his 40th time that he was able to create that. WD-40. Think about that. Back to you, Jeanne.
Great. That's kind of funny because, yes, it is. I usually talk about the 80-20 rule, but I like Edison's 90-10. So you have to put in the work. There was a great business guru, Tom Peters, who said a plan is something like an idea is a dream, a plan makes it work, or something like that. So you always have to have a plan, and you have to follow through. And I'll go back to it's a lot of how we perceive, you know, whether it's just a dream or if it's something that's achievable. You know, and so I think it was Zig Ziglar who said, if you can see it, you can be it. So, you know, you have to work towards it. Shivali, how does this track with your upbringing in India?
Well, I grew up in India, but I've been exposed to too many things simultaneously. That has been the beauty of my life, by God's grace. When I look at this topic today, two things I would like to say. Firstly, as you and Reverend have pointed out, that, you know, whatever we see so-called created in the world, in the external, it was thought in the mind first. Whoever created it, you know, whatever he created, all these great people that you are mentioning, it was first imagined. Yes. The thought was there somewhere. And then it was given a reality to, as you said, you know, to sweat, determination, all that. Okay, I agree with that. But here we also need to understand that the mind, which is creating the reality, is a very, very powerful energy. You know, and as Jeanne has also pointed out, that, you know, it's how we are receiving the world around us. Because I am the person. My mind is the experiencer. I'm experiencing. And what I'm seeing in the external, whether it's relationship, whether it's my home, whether it's my workplace, all this is the experience. And my mind is actually, whatever is my reception, the way I am experiencing this, the way I receive it is what is creating my individual reality. This is what I feel. And that is why the reality varies from individual to individual. The same situation, the same circumstances, the mind of the individual is actually receiving it in a very different way because of that individual, the way he wants to experience it. So this is how I would like to begin on this.
Yeah, it's very true. What your experience is, how you interpret it, how you see it. If we put on, I love the story, the rose-colored glasses. And when you put on the rose-colored glasses, you see everything positively in the story. But if we choose to see everything with gray glasses and we're not happy, that's our perception. And we get to change that. And that's the power we have.
However, thank you. However, you say that, and we're forgetting many people don't realize that they can change their mindset. If you watch the news day in, day out, you're going to see all the negativity that's going on. But if you decide, what is it that's going to make me happy? And you think, well, you know what? I want to go to the beach today. And you go to the beach and you begin thinking about going to the beach, and you're going to play in the sand or go into the ocean or whatever. You are automatically changing how you feel. And we don't necessarily think about talking about how we feel. Just in this conversation, listening to you guys, you're all being very intellectual. And I am too. Please don't think I'm anything different from you. But when I go by my emotions and what makes me happy, things seem to fall into place a lot quicker than if I'm thinking, okay, I don't have something, or I don't have enough money, and I get worried about having enough money, so I don't go shopping for food, or I don't do something I necessarily need to do. We go in a downward spiral. How is it that you keep yourself in a positive spiral? What do you do to keep yourself going up instead of going down? Pastor Billy.
Yeah, the way that I keep myself going up is to be accountable to other people. And there's a great verse in the scriptures that says that iron sharpens iron. And so once a week I meet with, you could call them your coach, you could call them your accountability person or your prayer partner or whatever you want to call them. In fact, I just came from that meeting an hour ago, and I meet with another gentleman who looks through my schedule, who looks through my dreams, my goals, objectives in a very intentional way, and then ask me questions. Well, what are you doing to achieve this? And I hope this is answering your question, Carla. And I would, I always tell people, when you think about it, when we're thinking about people that we admire as athletes, right? Everybody, whether it's cricket or football or soccer or baseball, pickleball, whatever. I know cricket is big in India, right, Shivali? I mean, everybody plays cricket.
Yes.
It's the national sport. Well, every one of those people that we admire as a athlete who's achieved something, they're at the top of their game, like Messi, plays soccer, football. I know it's called football in other countries. Well, how did they get there? They had a coach. They had a coach. And so my coach keeps me focused, keeps me in the midst of reality. And so if people like Tiger Woods, Muhammad Ali, whatever athletic star you want to talk about, they always have a coach. So I need a coach, and everyone viewing needs a coach as well in order to turn their dreams into reality. And that's just my thoughts on this subject today.
So you may have a coach that helps you, but what do? You're not with that coach 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Right.
What do you do yourself to keep yourself moving in that direction?
Well, I know that I'm going to meet with my coach in another 6 days.
No, but that won't help you the moment.
And yeah, that does help me because I'm accountable to that coach. And when I meet with that coach in another week, I know that every day, every moment, every segment of my life, every second, every minute, I've got to be working on implementing those goals, objectives that will help me reach my dream. It works for me. It may not work for others, but I'm working on that every day. So when I meet with that coach the next time, I can report to them, hey, I met my objectives.
Okay, Jeanne?
There we go. It sounds to me like with Pastor Gary, it's getting tasks done helps him stay focused. And you were asking about emotion. And my guess is that sometimes when we talk about things, and feelings is one of them, we all have different interpretations. So what I found in working with men and women is when I talk tasks with the men, we connect and we can move things forward, and it's easier. Women, we're brought up to be a little bit more emotional in the sense that we lead with intuition oftentimes. And so when we start to talk emotion, it's a whole different being. I recall when I used to talk with my now ex-husband, he would look at me a little bit dumbfounded, like, what are you talking about? Of course I love you. I'm cooking you dinner. But that didn't mean it to me. So we had to figure out that language of love kind of thing. But what I think I'm hearing from you is, how do you stay emotionally balanced moving forward? And we all have different tools. So for Pastor Gary, his coach, and I'm glad to hear this, Pastor Gary, because my coaching,
Gary?
Sorry, Pastor Billy, who was an old pastor of mine. As somebody who does a lot of executive coaching, I'm glad to see that what we're doing works through your testimony. But I think, Carla, what you may be searching for is, what do some people do in the middle of craziness to get themselves back? And for me, it's breathing, believe it or not. I actually sit down to meditate. I do some deep breathing, and I try to, in a sense, I take myself out of the world for a moment. I take myself out of the process that, because once you get into a cycle of things, it's hard to break free and think differently. So when I take the deep breathing exercises and I kind of get into meditation and prayerful contemplation, even 3 minutes, as little as 3 to 5 minutes makes a difference. And then I come back to whatever the situation is, and I'm much more able to respond appropriately. So I can give you an example. I just finished a session with 16 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, teaching them, and they had most of them had never actually been in a class before. They could not sit quietly. They could not raise their hand. They could not do what you would expect from a normal class because they're 5, 6, and 7. And one of my instructional aides said, I've never been in a class so disorganized, so crazy. And I just looked at her, I took a deep breath, and I said, keep in mind, they're 5, 6, and 7. During my break, I kind of reset myself, and then I come back and I started teaching the kids how to do deep breathing. So I had 16 kids raising their hands as they breathe in, holding their hands as they held it, and then have them whoosh and then go all the way down to the ground with their head, like touch their toes and then wiggle around. They thought it was a great game. But for the rest of that session, every time things got out of control, I would get them to do that little game. Breathe in, hold it, breathe out, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. At the end of the session, they were able to sit for a full minute without making a sound. They were that much improved. But it was me taking myself out of the chaos, just in my own head, taking some deep breathing, taking a minute, and then being able to move forward. So that's my tool, and you may have another tool.
Can we, and I know the topic is a little difficult because we're talking about bringing our dreams into reality, or that's where I wanted to go. I use breathing all the time. So I know what you're saying. A lot of us forget to dream and forget to make what we want in the world to become our reality. And I think many times we get stuck in, oh, this isn't going right. I want this, but I can't have it because I don't have X, Y, and Z. And yet we're not willing to do the journey, the trip that we need to take to get to the dream. We're not willing to enjoy that journey. And that was where I wanted the show to go towards.
Can I share something then? There's a common thread between what Pastor Billy said and what I said. Because what his coach is doing for him is setting goals to accomplish. So one of the things that I do with my coaching clients when I first start with them is, and I say this, and I've done this several times, I say, in a year, we're going to go out for a very expensive lunch. You're taking me out to lunch to say thank you and congratulations. You're going to tell me everything that we've done at this lunch, so that to explain why you're so thankful. And that makes them stop and think and go, what do you mean? I go, what is it that we've done in the next year that you're going to say is a success? So they have to define for me what their idea of success is. And then when we put together our plans and our task lists, it's to build towards that. And as Pastor Billy said, his coach kind of holds his goal for him and keeps pushing him towards it. And when something comes up to interrupt, helps you be flexible and change your plans. Yeah. So one of the things that I do often then is periodically check in. Where are we? What's going on with your life? So for example, I'm working with somebody who's got a goal of building up sales in her business, but something happened and this pesky thing called COVID comes in, and she got sick and she lost nearly 3 months of activity. So then it's up to us not to say, oh my God, the world is ending. I said, so let's rejigger what your goals are, what's achievable and what's a stretch. And I know you hear me talk about stretch goals in Toastmasters all the time. Stretch goals to me are ones that make you just sort of go a little beyond what you expect you can do. So in the sense of sales, if she said she could do 50,000 in sales, I'd say, well, what would you think about if we said 60? Is that 10,000 going to make that much more difference? And she will say yes or no. That's because that's her choice. But stretching, like when we're doing the Toastmasters, we talk to people about practicing one thing. Let's make your stretch goal really working out how to do your gestures, or really working on your tone of voice. Yeah, it's something where you're a little uncomfortable, but you're growing. But having other people hold that for you, Carla, helps us know that we can achieve it. It's what we do when we're raising our kids. We see our kids, even though they might be, 3, 4, 5, mine's now 32 because he's old and I'm not. I'm still 39, by the way. I had a much different vision of what he could do with his life. But I always said to him, what makes you happy? What is it you want to do? So when he made some decisions I didn't agree with, I had to rejigger my own expectations. And that was on me. But I look at him and he's very happy with with the choices he's made. And he and his girlfriend are making plans, and they're achievable plans, and I'm very proud of them. But periodically I will step in and just so where are you on this plan? And they'll tell me, he got a new job so they can, move it forward, or she's not working, so they're going to rejigger it and change it. We all need to do that. So I think this is where community comes in. We build our own community, our own extended family, if you will, that can help us see our own goals, see our own capabilities, and support us as we reach for them.
Yeah, if I could jump in and just related to that, and I'll be brief in our conversation we're having, is that we can dream all we want, but with our goals and objectives. I used what I call the SAM, S-A-M principle. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but we have to make sure that our goals and objectives are specific, attainable, and measurable. So in my humanitarian work, if I need to raise $10,000 for, like, I'm going to Nigeria next week, how can I make that specific, attainable, and measurable? So that's the SAM principle. So I hope that helps people that are watching.
But your dreams and what you're doing, going to Nigeria, is coming from a dream that you want to do.
Right.
And somehow we are missing the whole idea of a dream. And we're getting stuck in, I do it too, please, I'm not putting anyone down. We're getting stuck in the logistics instead of the dream. And what I wanted to really talk about is, do we create our realities with our dreams, or do we create our realities by what we see outside of us? Does that make sense, Pastor Billy, to you?
Yeah. I think it's both and.
Hey.
When I see a need, I respond to it. And then I begin to dream, okay, how can I make this happen? And then with my worldview, I pray and I say, God, help me to make this happen. And then it happens.
So the dreams are not forgotten. And that's really where I want to go. How can we create our world and create our dreams and bring them into reality? Shivali?
Yes, Carla, thank you. Carla, just a while ago, when you questioned that, what do you do when you're caught, like when Pastor Billy mentioned about, that he goes to his coach. What I was thinking, what happens is, your association matters a lot. And the second thing over here, which matters, like what Jean said, stretching. For me, the word is to challenge oneself. When you are caught in a particular situation, coming back to what I said a little earlier, the mind is a very powerful energy. What happens most of the time, we are trying to control the environment. We are trying to control the external. For example, a person is working in an office and he's not very happy with his work, or he's dissatisfied with his boss. So, what he does, he quits his job and he takes on another job. He again experiences the same thing over there. He's again dissatisfied. So, the idea is not in so much changing the environment, it's about changing ourselves. Now, the question is, what do we do when we are caught in that? This was what you had asked a little while earlier. I'll give you one small example of today from my own life. Today, I knew I would be coming on this show and I was having severe lower back pain. I still have it on. Okay. And I was just thinking, I said, what's going to happen? Will I be able to participate in it? This is what my mind is feeding me constantly, that you're not well, you won't be able to participate. But what did I do? I just challenged myself. What Jean said, stretching ourselves. I challenged myself. I said, of course I can do it. And look at me, I'm here. I'm here, and association matters a lot. My mind immediately told me, Carla is going to be there, Reverend is there, Jean is there. I'm a much happier person associating with all of you right here, rather than spending time thinking about that pain. So this new reality was created by my own mind. The environment has remained the same, but my association has made the difference. So this is the way I handle things on a daily basis. And coming to the part of dreams, yes, whatever we achieve has to be dreamt of first. It has to be thought of. Dreams, I mean, we often hear people say, you don't dream, then how do you live? You first need to imagine things, desire things. And then you have that belief, that faith, coupled with prayers. Yes, for me, prayers are very important. And then I leave it to God. And that's the new reality which is created by the same individual. The environment also appears different. That's how I would receive it that time, because my own mind has undergone this. For some, they take help of books. For some, they take help of coaches. I have been personally been under a transformational coach, Mr. Abdul Das. I owe a lot to him. My life I owe to him. He brought this change in me. But today I am on my own. I still take guidance. Obviously, we take guidance from our seniors, but then we've been put on track. So that's how we handle things. We need to challenge ourselves. And that's what human life is all about.
Yeah, and if I could jump in, Shivali and Carla and Jean, in our conversation, and I want all of our listeners and viewers to know it's about challenging ourselves. When we get that dream, when we get that thought inside of our head, whether it's something that we want to do personally, or maybe it's something we want to do for others, then as we dream that, then we're also thinking about, how do I make this a reality? How do I make my dream a reality? And that's a God-given gift, right? That's how, when you look at the universe and you look at all the blessings that we have today, I mean, we're all, as I look around, we're all sitting in houses, right? When I go to northwestern Kenya, I'm in a mud hut with scorpions. Okay, so how did we get to a place where we are in very nice, comfortable homes? We had a dream that, wow, I want to live in a home that has windows, that has a roof, has walls, has a floor, and I'm not living in a mud hut. No offense to mud huts, because that's
Yeah.
where I spend most of my life, is in mud huts. But that dream for all of us that live in comfortable houses, whether it's India, California, Maryland, or the People's Republic of Philadelphia, I mean, that was a dream. And we thought about that, and now it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a dream 43 years ago that I would fall in love with a beautiful woman, and I did. And here I am, still in love.
Your desire. You know, the universe listens to the vibrations, your desire. So, yes, you need to dream first and followed by action. That's what, Reverend, I think you're trying to tell us, that you have to now determine that what is the course of action that you will take. It's not easy, of course. Human life was never easy. So, yes, I understand. With determination, with faith, you forge ahead, and we take action. We have to act upon our plan. We have to act upon our dreams. Then only they become the reality. So again, it's the mind which is doing. Our consciousness enables us.
I think, Carla, when you were asking your question, I almost heard you say, what is it that we need to do to get back to dreaming? And
oh yeah,
if that's the question, it's maybe a little bit of a different conversation, but it's one of the things that I have noticed, since I'm not working in a day-to-day right now, I'm in a break. We get so busy doing the things that we think we have to do that sometimes we forget to actually take a moment and dream. And so it's part of the culture that we build for ourselves to have that time. I honestly think some of the religious traditions over time were meant to give us that time. For example, I grew up as a Catholic, and we did the rosary, which as a kid felt like the most boring hour that we had to spend, because you're repeating the same prayer over and over. As an adult, going through the process with my mother, because she really enjoyed doing the rosary, so we did it with her as she was declining. I realized that was one way of meditating, because as you got going with all the prayers and stuff, your mind is released and you're able to meditate and bring in more information, or allow yourself to dream. So we don't often call it dreaming. Sometimes we call it praying. Sometimes we call it just taking a break. But building in that time to quiet your mind, to say, what do I want to be when I grow up? And frankly, I made a joke that I'm still 39. I am not 39, but I don't have to say anything more than that because it's not polite. However, I keep telling my son, he's 32. I was like, you can't be 32 because I'm only 39. But the point is I'm still asking myself, what am I going to be when I grow up? I've reached a lot of the things that I've dreamt about, and I've reached a lot of things that I didn't dream about because I didn't know they existed, but I went out and did them anyway. And every time I take that quiet moment and I say, what am I going to be when I grow up? Then I get an inspiration of something next to do. And that's one of the things that I think I want to comment, is we get so busy doing things that we forget to take that longer look of what are we trying to do? What do we want to do? What do we want to be? Because we could be human doings all we want, but what do we want to be? I will tell you, I'll tell you sometimes that my happiest moments are holding my grandbabies and not doing anything for work, just being with those kids. That reminds me that, because kids are so innocent and so devoid of anything problematic, they're just right there at the present. It reminds me to be in the present and to just be. And sometimes that's just the dream, just to enjoy that ecstatic moment. And that's where the dream comes in.
Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting, Jeanne, but in our conversation, I may be a little out there and a little weird.
We all are weird.
Well, I'm Carla, I'm apologizing up front because I'm the only man on the on MindPlore today. But what every time I dream, sometimes it's when I'm by myself, and I say this as an encouragement to our viewers and listeners that you don't have to always be alone when you're dreaming. I kind of look at dreaming like a car with four wheels. If you can imagine this, a wheelbarrow only has one wheel, right? But a car has four wheels. And as a result of that, those four wheels that are all spinning at the same time, and they're getting you a lot further than a wheelbarrow. Okay, if I can make that illustration. A wheelbarrow doesn't get you very far. So I like to think that we can dream while we're in the course of normal daily living. And then when we're at a place, going to bed at night, when our head hits the pillow, and then we can say, wow, I was dreaming about that while I was driving my car. And, I always love the great address that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave on the Washington Mall. And what did he say? And we all know that story. The name of that address that he gave on the Washington Mall was entitled, quote, "I have a dream," period, exclamation point, close quote. And that dream became a reality. And then there were civil rights for people of color, African Americans, brown and black people here in America. So he had a dream. He told people about it. And then he put it into action, right? He was out there preaching in churches. He was out there lobbying Congress. So, that seems to us to be a big dream. But to our listeners and viewers, as they're involved in this conversation, what are your dreams? What are your dreams? And can you dream about your dreams while you're doing other things? That's what I do, if that's helpful to our viewers and listeners.
So what are your dreams?
Oh, what are my... Wow, Carla, I'm like...
Why is that such a big thing?
No,
I have a
it's
dream to see the world communicating together.
Yeah, exactly.
So
My short-term dreams, and there are short-term dreams and there are long-term dreams. Sometimes our long-term becomes short-term. Sometimes our short-term becomes long-term, right? I think Shivali addressed that. My short-term dream today is to be a loving husband, a loving father, and a loving grandfather, as we're having a family dinner with all 21 members of our wild and crazy family today. And so that's my short-term dream. How's that?
But isn't the short-term dream found in this very moment?
Yeah.
And is this very moment more important than wondering what's going to happen 2 minutes from now? Or if it didn't happen 2 minutes before, because that's where I wanted the conversation to go.
Yeah, I think that they're all equally important. I don't know what Jeanne and Shivali say about that, but I think that they're all equally important, that we have dreams and some become a reality. That's the conversation we're having today. And some of them never come to reality.
Why do they not come to reality? Is it because we lose our focus on the dream and we look at what's happening in the world right now? And no, people aren't going to talk to each other. So why should I be talking to them about speaking English confidently. Or
Yeah, well-
no one's going to be opening their mind. Why should I do MindPlore?
Yeah, well, I think, and Shivali, Jeanne, jump in, but the word distraction, Carla, comes to mind, and we can be distracted, and then we have to figure out, are those good distractions or are those bad distractions? And I wrestle with that.
But doesn't matter whether they're good or bad distractions.
Probably not.
What really matters? I'm asking you. I don't know the answer.
What really matters? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I believe that we have hundreds of thousands of thoughts that could be thought of as dreams, possibly, but hundreds of thousands of different thoughts that go through our mind every day that we are unaware of. It's where we put our attention that makes the difference. So if you have the dream to get the world to start talking to each other, and you have this online class, learn English by speaking English, and you affect 2 people every time, just 2, you're affecting hundreds of thousands of people without even knowing it. But when we start to get into the existential, what does this really mean kind of thinking, it can take us into a whirlwind where we're starting to look at all these thoughts that we hadn't been paying attention to, and then it becomes instantaneously overwhelming. So it's where you put your attention that is important to identifying what your dream was and identifying how to achieve the dream. Sometimes we have dreams that are not achievable, but they're great for escape, and that's all there are. I have a dream that I'm living in the Great Valley in Kauai, which is like where the waterfall from the Fantasy Island show was. And it's just, I've been there. I've been in the Fern Grove. I love it. I dream about it because that calms me down. That, I actually picked colors in my house. When I painted the inside of my house, I picked colors to evoke that kind of feeling. But is that a dream? Am I actually going to live there? Well, nobody can live there. It's state parkland. And so that's a dream that I put in the unachievable, but like to believe it kind of place. And then I have other dreams, like I want to make enough money so that I can go traveling and be able to be with my grandkids. And, my dream today about that and grandkids is completely different than my dream was 30 years ago, when I was just trying to make ends meet and raise my son. And, I think I've shared that I was a single parent. So whenever I had ups and downs in the work world, it was amplified because I had my son. So my dreams were much more practical. How am I going to pay the rent? How am I going to make sure there's food on the table? And I found jobs that let me do that. They were achievable, and I kept growing, and I was able to have a comfortable life. No mud huts. However, I probably would have been happy in a mud hut for a little while. I did used to like to go camping, but not with the scorpions. But we all have different dreams, but we don't prize in our society. Maybe Shivali, it's a little different where you live, and maybe it's a little different in some of the places you go to, Pastor Billy. But we tend to prize the practical dream, not the impractical dream. And sometimes when we look at the impractical dream, that's where the magic is. We don't prize magic in our society right now. And I do a whole talk on what magical time is. And that's where, when you get into that flow and you don't even know minutes are passing because you're so happy with what you're doing. And this happens for me when I'm painting or when I'm writing or when I'm with my grandbabies. Time just flows and you're not even aware of it. To me, that's a dream state, and I prize it, but other people don't. They actually said to me once I was wasting my time when I was doing some artwork. That was not a waste of time, but to that person that was their judgment. So if I'd succumbed to that judgment, I probably never would have picked up a paintbrush again. However, when the time was right, I picked one up and I was like, yeah, I remember. So I think it's where we put our attention and all those bazillion of thoughts that go through our minds. It's where we put our attention. And that's what makes us who we are.
And that's the point I've been trying to get to. It is, where do we put our attention? We have a choice. We can put our attention to what we don't have, or we can put our attention to what we have. I have 2 crazy cats. Sometimes when I put my attention on the cats, I begin getting away from thinking, oh, I don't have this. Because I begin to realize how much I have in the world. And the moment I begin recognizing what I have in the world, things begin to open up and open up clearly.
Yeah,
so we put our attention to what we don't have, and how do we change that? How do we change the dreams to what we want to happen?
I have a friend who did something on Facebook that at first there was a kind of, it was jarring because I hadn't seen anything like that. And you've probably all seen it now. She for about 3 weeks, she put 5 things I'm grateful for. Every night before she went to sleep, she typed it into Facebook and shared it with everybody. And it was little things like, a hug for my son, a great dinner, things that, excuse me, there's a fly here, things that you don't stop to think about being grateful for. And we should, have a roof over my head, whatever. But reading what she was writing made me stop to think. It's like, yeah, what is it that I have? And that got me into reading about gratitude journals and things like that. So some people actually sit down with a journal and write it out. And that helps change what you're putting your attention on. So maybe step 1 is to start looking at, what are you thankful for? What are you grateful for? And once you start to do 1 or 2 of those and you see the change, then you'll do it a little bit more. What happens in my world was there are 4 or 5 other people that jumped on that and started to do that. So it wasn't too long before my Facebook timeline in the evening became 5 things I'm grateful for from several people, because they told 2 friends and they told 2 friends and so on and so on. And that changes your Facebook timeline. Think about your Facebook timeline is this much of your life. If you could change your thinking and a few people around you to start thinking about, what am I grateful for? The people in where you were talking about with the mud huts, Pastor Billy, are probably grateful that they have a mud hut. And I remember a scene in one of the Tarzan movies when he comes to America with Jeanne and he can't sleep in the bed. And we're like, it's a bed, you need to sleep in the bed. And he's like, no, I need to sleep on the floor. And so not looking at other people's judgment, do what makes you happy and then be grateful for it. Sometimes, there are, I'll give you an idea in food. There are some foods that I just don't like. I really just don't like them. But other people are grateful for having them. And one of them is a type of pickled beet. My mother loved it. She'd do anything to get those, but I hated it. And I would not eat that food. But she would say, you have to eat it. You need to be grateful we have this food. But I wasn't grateful. On the other hand, mashed potatoes, she got tired of making, because for my large family, she was doing 20 to 25 potatoes to mash. So it was a lot of work for her. But when we got to sit down with mashed potatoes and butter and gravy, we're like, oh, we're in heaven. So just training ourselves to be grateful for the things we love, for the things that we like, for the things that move us forward. Just simply saying thank you. And that changes our outlook in life.
You're making me hungry, Jeanne. I'm going to leave and get something to eat. Some potatoes.
And that's so
No, I really love curry rice. So I'm my stomach is growling now for curry rice.
Come to India, we make wonderful curry rice. Yeah.
I know, and I love it when our daughter-in-law makes it. So I am dreaming right now about curry rice. I'm dreaming. So Carla, how do I make that dream become a reality?
go to a great Indian restaurant for lunch.
You put your
Okay.
attention on it.
Very good.
You
All
put
right.
your attention on it, and maybe by any chance, you can make it a reality.
Yeah.
It's not that it's not a reality. It's just that you're not letting it become a reality. You just resisted it. How can I make it happen?
That was a rhetorical question.
It
So,
doesn't matter.
yeah,
That's
no,
what
I am going to make it happen because I'm leaving right now to go out and get some curry rice.
Well, before you leave,
Okay.
you need to stay here. I need to talk to you for a moment off camera.
Carla, you're squashing my dream. You're squashing my dream.
No, I'm only doing it for a minute because we need to get off. But that's the whole thing, and I hope we can go more into the dreams on Tuesday. It's a difficult topic, not because it's difficult in a way, it's because we forget about dreaming. We forget about making our realities real. And that's what we need to do. We need to forget the negative, the things that we don't think, oh, I want my curry rice. Where am I going to get it? To, oh, the Indian restaurant is just 3 blocks away in Philly. I'm going to walk there and have lunch. Or for Shivali, I want to dance in Bollywood. Well, maybe you're not near Bollywood, but you can get some friends together and put on some Bollywood music.
I do that very often. I create my own world.
Same with Jeanne, her grandkids. She loves being around them. Go see them. You don't have to limit it to Tuesday and Thursday. I don't know if I said that right, Jeanne. Please correct me. But the point is, we get stuck in, oh, what's happening? Ukraine, COVID, whatever, instead of looking for, and I do it too, please, I'm not putting anyone down. Instead of looking at, oh, I'll be happy if I hold Krishna, the cat, for a few moments. Or happiness will come when I get off the show because it didn't go exactly as I wanted, but it really did. It took a while to get to this point because we all think differently. And I kept on thinking about that during the show. We all think very differently. And because of how we think, we don't normally come together, but we did. And then we got where I wanted you to be. And I'm so happy we did. I'm going to give everyone a moment, just a minute, to come up with something that you gained from the show that maybe you didn't realize before. And I'm going to start with Shivali. Nothing long, but very short.
Yes, I'll actually wrap it up in my way that Reverend was mentioning about the wheelbarrow. It reminded me how you start vibing with, similar kind of people, to make your dream a reality. You vibe with your own tribe. And then I heard Jeanne mentioning about intention, and our dreams, as Carla was mentioning. What you focus upon grows. Remember that. What our mind focuses on, it begins to grow. So that is why whatever we focus on, we need to do it with gratitude. That's what Carla also mentioned. We never should forget about this gratitude to the universe, gratitude to God, and gratitude for being alive. And so it is all, like what I can look at it today from this perspective, that I'm creating my own reality. It's the choice that we are making. The choice that we make creates the reality for us. So again, it's the powerful energy of the mind which makes us make that choice. That is why it varies from individual to individual. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Pastor Billy.
Yeah, my short and Shivali and Jeanne, Carla, great to be on with you today. I was dreaming about this show and it became a reality. So I want to encourage everybody watching and listening, dream big dreams, dream big dreams. I mean, when we think about, I'll go back to Dr. Martin Luther King. Here was one man married with small children, and he dreamed a big dream and he made it happen in his lifetime, cut short by his assassination. But think about those big dreams that you can accomplish by God's grace, by God's love, and God's mercy. So sweat, determination, and hard work always helps. So thanks for having me on. Back
Don't
to you.
go anywhere.
Okay. I got to get that curry rice. Come on.
You'll get
Shivali,
it.
help me out.
Trust me, you'll get it. I have to say something about big dreams. A long time ago, when I first met Rehan, and we've gone through a lot, but one of the things we've gone through was doing a moonshot. And we talked about dreams and we talked about big dreams. And I think someone asked him, he said, "You don't dream reality, Rehan. When are you going to begin dreaming what?" I may have even asked, because when he said, "Carla, you're going to say you're going to teach 2 billion people English," and I'm like, "Rehan, that's a little crazy. Let's dumb it down a little." And he said, no, we're going to dream that way. And, whether I'm actually teaching 2 billion, I know that I am reaching many people with the English show and with this show. And we do it by doing it consistently. Dream. Jeanne, your dream, and then I'm going to end the show.
It's more of a thought. I'd like to see us all understand that we have things we can influence and we have things we can control. And then there are things that we don't control. So when I'm watching the news, I know that's not something in my control, but it's something to educate me about something. So I don't let it ruin my day, if you will. I'm very clear on the things that I have control over and the things I have influence over. And my dreams I have influence over, I don't control them. I let them come to me so I can go, oh, that's pretty nice. And then I can choose which ones. The control comes when I choose which ones I put my attention to. And that's a skill that we can all work on. But I do want to remind everyone to be thankful for what we have every day, every moment, because that's what makes up who we are and how we show up in the world.
And that's what is most important, how we show up in the world and how we influence the world. We can do it by being very negative and just talking about the negativity in the world, or we can do it by being positive. And I'll be honest with you, every day I have a lot of people begin to follow me on Facebook, and I wonder why. I mean, they all want to write me, and I can't do it all the time. But it makes me realize the influence that I've had on the world and what I will continue doing, and how lucky I am 5 years ago when this whole journey started on Zoom and the world. And with that, we will be continuing to talk about the dreams we create in the world and how we can make our worlds what we want them to be by dreaming. And with that, guys, can we wave goodbye? Bye, everyone.
Bye.